Have you ever used cooking to cope with issues in your life relating to relationships or family? Miss Piggy once said, "Never eat more than you can life." Some people believe coping mechanisms can be bad because it just distracts you from the problem. In the novel Like Water for Chocolate, the author Laura Esquivel shares a story of cooking, family, and romance. In the beginning, Tita is born in a kitchen, her care is left to Nacha, and she develops a love for cooking. Tita cooks lots of food throughout the book as a way of coping with her problems. When Tita is 15, she tells Mama Elena that a suitor is at the door who wants to speak with her, Pedro Musquiz. However, Mama Elena reminds Tita that since she is the youngest daughter, she will have to take care of Mama Elena until she dies. No suitors for you! Since Tita cannot marry anyone, Mama Elena offers for Pedro to marry Rosara, the oldest, instead, and he agrees. They get married in a later chapter. Then Rosara and Pedro have a child named Roberto, and Tita has to help deliver him since no one else was around during her labor. He dies in a later chapter, and they end up having another child named Esperanza. Oh my god, he died? Even though Rosara and Pedro are together, Tita and Pedro start to sneak around and have an affair while no one is near. The major climax of the story is when Tita tells John about having an affair with Pedro. He says he will still marry her, but she needs to decide who will make her happier. Finally, the story concludes when Esperanza and Alex get married after being separated by Rosara. Tita and Pedro decide to be together and make love, but both die afterwards. Their bodies catch fire, creating a volcano in the dark room of the ranch. In the book, the author captures the unique reality of family and romance through cooking. She does this by explaining the time and place of the novel, which is set in northern Mexico during the Mexican Revolution, from 1910 to 1920, while also revealing a universal truth of love perseveres in the end. Tita's point of view differs from Mama Elena's due to their different beliefs and values. Mama Elena is also stricter because she wants to keep her traditions alive. An example from the book is, "For generations, not a single person in my family has ever questioned this tradition, and no daughter of mine is going to be the one to start." From page 11. This moment reveals the difference in Tita versus Mama Elena's point of view by showing their different opinions and beliefs. Because of the disagreement over marriage, we can see that it causes Mama Elena and Tita to believe differently in traditions as well as argue about them. This shows us the point of view that Tita believes she should be able to marry, but Mama Elena believes she needs to follow the traditions and take care of her, because if she got married, no one would be there to take care of Mama Elena. This point of view is influenced by the time period because marriage and traditions change with each time period. It is also unique to the place because each place is strict or has its own ideas and beliefs about marriage. Overall, this moment captures staying true to your culture and the downsides of that because sometimes it can affect your relations with family. This perspective helps to show how cooking can act as a coping mechanism, as well as family and love can work together or against each other. While Mama Elena and Tita reveal the perspective of love throughout the novel, they also reveal the universal truth, which is love perseveres over all. This is seen when Tita is attending Mama Elena's funeral and starts to cry, not because of her dead mother, but because she understood her complicated love. The author writes, "During the funeral, Tita really wept for her mother, not for the castrating mother who had repressed Tita her entire life, but for the person who had lived a frustrated love." This is on page 138. When Tita starts crying, it suggests she finally understood her mother because she had a complicated love and can sympathize with her. This shows even if Mama Elena was very mean and mistreated Tita, they secretly were very similar. And after all of this, Tita still has love for her mother and can sympathize with her because she understood her due to their similar experiences in love. Mama Elena wasn't allowed to love Jose, and Tita couldn't love Pablo. Regardless of time and place, all people can relate to this idea because everyone has a mom, and even if they mistreat you or you are best friends, it shows you may be more alike than you think. In this way, the novel is relatable and understandable. Overall, the novel allows us to learn about the differences in family members' opinions and relate to the lessons Tita and her family teaches us. This is powerful and meaningful because in Like Water for Chocolate, you learn that coping can distract you from facing your problems head on. Coping is a no-no! This book remains relevant to people all around our current world because instead of tackling problems head-on, people use coping mechanisms to avoid their issues, as well as how the book discusses romance and family. From this story, I have learned a few things. Love will persevere in the end. Coping is not the solution to dealing with problems, and family is important even if your morals don't align with one another. I think that in time, everyone, if they read this book, could learn from each person in the story. How Tita used cooking to distract her from her problems but needed to face them eventually. How Gertrudis needed to run away to experience the army and true love from her husband. How Mama Elena needed to let Tita do the things she wanted and let traditions die in order to have things change in the family. Learn from these people. They teach you important lessons for a reason. The place captured in the story is a ranch in the middle of a village in Mexico. I wonder what inspired Laura Esquivel to write this story and if she has had similar experiences in her life. My experiences are different because I'm the oldest in my family, so I wouldn't be restricted when it's time for me to get married, since I wouldn't have to take care of my mom, as well as I've never been in love or had these encounters with men. So I can't relate to the De la Garza sisters in that way. However, I can relate to the novel because sometimes I use cooking as a way to cope with problems happening around me. Thank you for listening to my podcast on Like Water for Chocolate. Now go read the book so it actually makes sense to you.